Yard line where he was tackled by Brandon Kelly. There's Eric Olson, the management major from Fort Lauderdale. The rare miss of the extra point a moment ago. Those little things that look like little things at the time sometimes wind up being big things in this rivalry.
Oh, I'll tell you, when Army missed the extra point, Bob Sutton, his heart stopped. Because you just got to rack up points as fast as you can. You know both teams are going to fight to the bitter end.
The offenses to have their way today. These have been two of the worst defenses in the nation this year. Jason Wolf, the ball carrier. Adisa King and Kenny Dale Rowland made the stop. The Army defense is ranked number 94 in the nation in total defense out of 112, giving up 418 yards per game. And the Navy defense is 107 out of 112, giving up 464 yards per game, ahead of only New Mexico State, Kent, Louisville, Cincinnati, and Southwestern Louisiana on all Division I A teams. 2nd and 6. Broadwater right up the middle, and he fights to the 32 near a first down. Adisa King hit him first, and then Andrew Burke came to his aid.
John, you talk about the defenses being very porous and giving up lots of yards. One advantage the defenses do have, though, they both have had 2 weeks to get ready for the game. And you know, that recognition and reaction you see in the offense every day in practice against good people, because both teams run the same kind of offense. That should help both of these defenses play a little better today than they have all year long, as you pointed out.
And the schedule's a little bit tougher than usual this year for both of these academies. It is a first down. Of course, Army went into Conference USA this year after 108 years as an independent. They joined Conference USA, so they had to play tough conference games against Tulane and Louisville and Southern Mississippi. They dropped the Division I AA teams from their schedule. They usually played a couple of 1AA teams a year. 4 of Navy's 7 losses have been to ranked teams: Notre Dame, Tulane, Air Force, and West Virginia. The pitch by Broadwater. And the ball carrier, Irv Dingle, stopped after a short gain at the 35. Army was picked to finish last in Conference USA in the preseason poll of coaches and sports information directors, but they actually finished in a tie with Houston, ahead of Cincinnati and Memphis.
Well, and Bob Sutton was telling us yesterday, Sean, that he thought going into Conference USA was as important for Army as anything. It helps them play for a championship, a bowl game, all the neat things that go with being in the conference.
He said every game is important. They also get much more TV exposure. This is their 7th time on TV this year. That's the end of the first quarter. The score: Army 13 and Navy 10. Will return to Veterans Stadium after these messages and a word from your local station.
Some of the penetration is not as bad.
First play of the second quarter. 2nd down and 7. Excuse me, 3rd down and 1 after the rush by Broadwater as we were chatting. And it's Jason Wolf struggling for the first down. Tough run by the senior from North Canton, Ohio. William Thiele and Andrew Burke made the tackle.
Well, Navy continues to run their offense. They fake the fullback inside. The quarterback comes out, handles the pressure well, gets the ball dealt outside, and then you leave it up to your wing backs or your slot backs to go ahead and fight for tough yardage. That's exactly what the Navy offense did.
Lyle Weaver, the sophomore from Decatur, Georgia, a standout on this Army defense. John Vereen came in motion. Irv Dingle goes straight ahead, and he's into Army territory at the 47-yard line. Ron Sporer made the stop. Check out CBS Sportsline's All-America team. They picked the 11 most outstanding football players in the country. Find out who made the cut at cbs.sportsline.com and on America Online at keyword CBS Sportsline. Second down 5 for Navy. Only 2 passes thrown by Broadwater. And he decided to keep after the fake handoff, and he got driven back by Ron Sporer and Scott Kozak.
That was an outstanding play by Ron Sporer. He had penetration, and it was a design quarterback keep. There's no question that Brian Broadwater was going to keep that ball and try to follow the back into the hole, but no way when Ron Sporer filled it like that. It was a good defensive effort.
When we spoke with Brian Broadwater yesterday, he told us that he had committed out of high school to Bucknell, the Division I AA school. Navy got involved in his recruitment very late. He changed his mind and decided to go to Navy because he really wanted to play Division I football. Broadwater throws, man, wide open down the sideline. Ryan Reed, a great move, and he will score.
Well, what happened here is Brian Broadmoor, he faked the out route. He acted a little stop and go, and it was great action by him. That enabled Ryan Reed to run by Andrew Burke when he slipped on the turf. But give the quarterback some credit. He faked like he was going to throw quick and then pumped it and got it deep.
And the excitement is back in the extra point as Tom Vanderhorst playing one off the upright. And Navy has reclaimed the lead. 49-yard pass play for the touchdown for Navy. Navy has reclaimed the lead. Let's check in down to the sideline. Mike Mayock with special guests.
Thank you, Sean. I've got two of the three Heisman Trophy winners here at Army. Of course, Mr. Outside, Glenn Davis, a 1946 winner, and in 1958, Pete Dawkins. And Pete, 40 years ago, can you remember your own game?
Well, I sure can. One thing was it was 50 degrees colder than this. But I tell you, this is really hallowed ground here. And this is not a disappointment today. It's classic Army-Navy. You know, this past week, the BBC was over and I was working with them. They're doing a piece on the great rivalries of the world. And the one they picked from this country, the one from the United States they picked, was football, and it's the Army-Navy game. And this just is a wonderful, wonderful part of what college football is.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best parts. We're going to go back to Sean McDonough for the kickoff and then come back with Mr. Outside.
We saw that BBC crew yesterday about which Pete Dawkins was speaking, following the players around on both sides. We said last year it's the greatest rivalry in all of sports. Some said, well, wait a minute. But in our opinion, it is. When you factor in everything that goes into this rivalry, I can't find one that's better.
I've done this 3 years now, and it's certainly the most emotional rivalry that I've ever been involved in.
Brian Jacobs returning the kickoff from Tim Shubsta. And he's down at the 27-yard line. Let's go back to Mike.
Now, Glenn, 1946 Heisman Trophy. But back then, Army was synonymous with national.
The game ended up, it was 21 to 18, and they were on our 4-yard line. So you can't throw out any. You have to throw out all the points, everything in an Army-Navy game. It's always going to be tough.
Throw the records out, Sean.
Yes, indeed. Those two gentlemen look like they could still play. That's Reno Ferree, the ball carrier for Army, and he has a first down out near the 46-yard line, tackled by David Rhino.
You know, going back to Mike's interview there, you know, you talk about playing a game for 60 minutes. The game lasts 3 hours, but you play 60 minutes of competition, but you remember it forever. You never forget the game. It's incredible in these kind of rivalries. They're embedded in your brain forever.
These young men get all kinds of phone calls, messages, emails from all over the world from Army and Navy people. And when we talked to the players yesterday, they said the one recurring theme from former players is you'll remember this game the rest of your life. Particular plays, as we just heard from Glenn Davis, what the score was, what the circumstances were. Other games might blend together as you reflect back, but not the Army-Navy games for these people.
No, and if you go out on a ship and all of a sudden you're out there and you haven't beaten Army, you're going to hear about it for a long time out there.
Ty Amy carried for a couple. And now it's 2nd down and 8. And Jarena hands it off to Amy again, the senior from Linwood, California, who hasn't played since their narrow loss at Notre Dame. They lost on a late field goal to the Irish in South Bend back on October 24th. Ty's been bothered by ankle and hip injuries and has missed the last 4 games. Third down and 4. It's been an interesting start to this game, to say the least. The Army offense fumbled on its first 2 possessions. They scored touchdowns in the most recent 2. So the Cadets trail by 4 as they operate from midfield. Jarina pitched it into traffic to Bobby Williams, and he has a first down at the 43-yard line of Navy, where Jamie Doffermeyer made the stop.
Joe Jarina did a magnificent job handling the option that time. Very dangerous pitch, but he handled the pressure, came down the line of scrimmage, and got the ball pitched back to the pitchback so the ball could get outside and make the first down. Watch the execution here. This guy is quick with the ball. He knows how to feed it off there with a nice soft pitch so that the back can handle it.
And these 2 teams piling up the rushing yardage. Army's #1 rushing team in the nation. Bobby Williams swept down for a loss back to the 44-yard line. In this option attack, annually these 2 teams are among the national leaders in rushing per game. Army #1 at the moment at 283 per game. Navy tied with Nebraska for 4th at 264.9.
If Army holds their lead, this will be the 2nd time in 3 years that they've won the national rushing crown. And when you do that as Army, where you're not getting all of the great athletes that a lot of other schools get, it speaks well for the offense.
Jarina throws, and it's incomplete. Broken up by Doffermeyer. Bobby Williams looked to be open and heading for a touchdown, but he couldn't hang on as Doffermeyer stuck an arm in.
Bobby Williams is the wingback. He comes out on a little swing pattern. He's going to run right up the sideline, and certainly Joe Jarina has a well-thrown ball. Bobby Williams has to try and hang on to it, but it's a great play by Doffermeyer.
And it'll be 3rd down and long. 3rd and 11 with 9:26 left in the first half, with Navy leading by 4.
And this is where the offense is at a real disadvantage because they're so predominantly run-oriented. This is where they have a hard time making up long yardage.
The pitch to Richardson, and he got leveled and coughed up the ball, but he was down by contact. He got drilled by Bass Williams, but there was no fumble on the play, according to the referee, James Knight.
Well, Richardson comes around to be the pitchback. He receives the ball. It's a tremendous hit, but when the ground causes the ball to come loose, it's not a fumble. It's a good call by the official. What a defensive play by Bass Williams, #6 in Navy. That's the way you want to take the pitchman out of the option game.
That was textbook execution. Appeared to run right by the tight end, Joe Benson. Williams bounced around as a youngster, lived for a while in Detroit, now makes his home in the Dallas, Texas area. This is the first Army punt for Graham White. His father, a retired Army colonel with 31 years of military service. Graham's mom, Pamela, was the queen of the 1969 Tournament of Roses parade. And his punt was returned by Ryan Reed for 9 yards after a 44-yard boot by White, a junior from Alpharetta, Georgia. CBS Sports coverage of NASDAQ MX College football will continue after this word from your local station. Staff, Colin Powell, with his message of spirit. Beat 'em! Go Army!
Do these guys love it or what? They love it.
Jason Wolf in motion for the Naval Academy. Brian Broadwater out to the 22-yard line. Time now for the Aflac trivia question. And the question is, when was the last time 4 or more Division I-A teams went undefeated for the regular season? That is the case right now. There are 4 undefeated Division I-A teams, 3 vying for the top spot in the Bowl Championship Series, Tennessee, UCLA, and Kansas State, and of course Tulane completed an undefeated regular season in Conference USA for Tommy Bowden and his departure to Clemson. John Limbert, the ball carrier. He's close to a first down. That's the answer to the question for this year. Who are the 4 undefeated teams? We want to know the last time that happened. Of course, UCLA, your old school, has Miami today.
Miami today and Tennessee in the championship game against Mississippi State for the Southeastern Conference Championship. How about Kansas State going down to play Texas A&M for the Big 12 Championship?
3rd and 1 upcoming, and a timeout has been called by Navy. We'll return to Veterans Stadium in a moment. Sutton's defense trying to stop the Naval Academy on 3rd down and 1. Kenny Dale Rowland of Army has 9 tackles already. A handoff to Matt Harden, and he has a first down. The senior from Concord, California. Taken down again by Rowland and by the other safety, Derek McNally.
Matt Harden, the fullback, once again, Navy making sure they get the fullback game established to keep that Army defense at home. It's a nice picture of Matt Harden getting his pad level down and punishing the Army defensive defenders trying to get him down. Harden's from a Navy family. His dad, Tim, played at Navy and was co-captain of the midshipmen in 1974. Matt was a quarterback in high school at Northgate in California. His team was 10-0 his senior year. Broadwater looking deep, looking for Reed. He is open. Ryan Reed off to the races. Touchdown. Well, Navy strikes with the play action pass. Brian Broadwater throws a beautiful pass. Ryan Reed at the bottom of the screen is just going to race down the field. Andrew Burke is trying to cover him, and he just isn't athletic enough to stay with Ryan Reed. Navy has gone after Burke twice now on deep balls for touchdowns. They're going to find him again. Army's got to find a way to protect him. Tom Vanderhorst added the extra point. Second long touchdown reception by Reed. This one 69 yards for the sophomore from Austin, Texas. Coming into this game, 46 plays yielded of 20 yards or more. You can add 6 more to that total today. And we think of these two offenses as 3 yards in a cloud of dust, time of possession, chew up yardage bit by bit. Every touchdown in this game has been on a play of 17 yards or longer. Both offenses have the big play capabilities because of the play action pass. What happens to you is you get 8 and 9 guys up there playing the run so that those cornerbacks are totally isolated on those wide receivers. If they can cover them, you can play great defense. If they can't cover them, it's hard to stop the big play, and that's exactly what Army has given up. 2 huge pass plays over Andrew Burke, number 22, by Reed from Navy. Shubs kicks off into the end zone. Andrew Burke became the starting cornerback for Army when Jamar Mullen, one of their best players, senior cornerback, went down for the year with a broken left humerus, the bone in his upper arm. It was a gruesome injury. Mullen had started 18 straight games at the boundary corner for Army, and that's one reason why they've given up a lot of big plays. He was very dependable on the corner. That was a big-time loss for Army. And, you know, it's not easy to be out there on a corner covering a guy all over the field with all kinds of room to run around. That's a very difficult chore. It takes a superior athlete to do it, and right now, Army's not been able to do it against Navy. Joe Jarena, hands off. And right up the middle goes Craig Stucker for 9. Well, we mentioned the big plays in this game. They started early. Army fumbled on its first 2 possessions, and Navy capitalized quickly. Shubs to the field goal, and Dingle, the 17-yard touchdown run. It was 10-0. But Joe Jarena came off the bench, replaced Johnny Gobb at quarterback. He scored on touchdown runs of 25 and 69. Army led 13-10 with a missed extra point. Well, then Ryan Reed got into the act. A 49-yard touchdown reception and a 69-yarder. And it's 24-13 Navy.
Just under 6 minutes left in the half. Here goes Craig Stucker, the fullback. Another big play and another touchdown.
That you have to stop the triple option from inside out. You better take care of the fullback first, because if you don't, he's the guy that can hurt you the fastest. And the Army line did a great job knocking the Navy defenders off the ball, giving that cutback to Craig Stucker so he could race for the exciting touchdown for the Cadets.
71 yards. The longest play of the game. For Stucker, the senior from Lafayette, Indiana. Ed Warner, the offensive coordinator, told us he was almost cut as a sophomore. He was so far down the depth chart. They're going for two. Chirina couldn't unload. He is sacked by Ryan Hamilton. Native of the Philadelphia area, freshman from Havertown, Pennsylvania. So Stucker stayed in the program after almost being cut as a sophomore, being a deep backup until this his senior year. He goes 71 yards to score, but they couldn't convert the two.
Well, Army trying to go for two early in the game. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought Bob Sutton might kick the extra point, carry that momentum into the locker room, but the Navy defense smelled the play, played it properly, threw Joe Chirina for the big loss.
A touchdown by Stucker has Army back within 5.
It wasn't an option play. It was just a role play where they had a crease in that defense.
Eric Olson will kick off. And it's down to Jason Wolf at the 8-yard line. And he gets driven back by a host of Army tacklers at the 25. That group led by Brandon Kelly. Jason Walker also in on the play. A 16-yard return. Time now to answer our Aflac trivia question. We wanted to know the last time 4 or more Division I-A teams went undefeated through the regular season. And you have to go back to 1979 when Alabama, BYU, Florida State, McNeese State, and Ohio State all went 11-0.
Wow, it's a long time. It's hard to go undefeated.
Yes, it is.
Great job of coaching by anybody that takes his team undefeated. It's a great job.
Irv Dingle out to the 28-yard line. Jason Walker in on the stop. The senior from Powder Springs, Georgia. Brought down Dingle, who was drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers after his senior year in high school at Fairfield, California High. He was elected to pursue a future in the Naval Academy. And he's been banged up all year. He's had a nagging ankle injury.
Second leading rusher on the team behind the quarterback, Brian Broadwater. So they like to give him the ball.
Get him.
Broadwater Kings. And he's out to the 30. Ron Sporer made the stop. Broadwater was recruited as a defensive back. He played defensive back at the Naval Academy Prep School in Newport, Rhode Island. He's only had a year and a half as a quarterback in this system. Charlie Weatherby said one of the reasons that he converted Broadwater to quarterback was that his plebe picture resembled Roger Staubach.
Hey, I hope it doesn't stop there. I hope he keeps taking that resemblance all the way to the next level.
A great Heisman Trophy winner for Navy. That should be an illegal or an incomplete forward pass, and it is. It was a forward pass intended for Jason Wolf, and therefore an incompletion on the shovel pass. Army thought it had the ball back on a turnover. That's just an incompletion for Broadwater, and a punt upcoming for Navy.
It was a nice job by Adisa King, number 48, the linebacker. He's going to blitz through. He's in the middle of the screen. He comes underneath, and he's the guy that really disrupts the shovel pass there. It's a good play by him. It's almost a reverse option, you know, when you think about it. The pitchback's underneath the quarterback instead of on the outside of the quarterback.
Trey Polish punts it away for Navy. And it is down after the roll at the 24-yard line. Down by David Alexander. 45 yards on the punt for Kalish, a junior from Virginia Beach, Virginia. His stepfather, Scott Grundmeyer, is a 1980 graduate of the Naval Academy. Trey's had one of the best seasons punting the football in Navy history this year. Tonight on CBS. You've heard about it, you've read about it, but you've got to see it to believe it. Martial arts superstar Sammo Hung is kicking the fun back into Saturday nights. Don't miss Martial Law tonight on CBS. Jurina out to the 35-yard line, taken down by Barani Nettles and Ryan Hamilton. Coach, I guess we're not going to get the call from Sammo Hung. This is our last regular season telecast. We've been begging all year.
I know we have been begging.
Guest spot on Martial Law.
Listen, partner, we ought to just call somebody else. There's got to be somebody that wants the two of us on television.
Second down and 9. Quick pass for Richardson. He threw him a curveball. Richardson could handle it. That's a live football. And it rolls out of bounds back at the 9-yard line. That was ruled a lateral. Richardson couldn't catch it. It was not a good-looking pass. A curveball low and away from Jurina. And then Richardson kicked it, and Jason Snyder was in hot pursuit for Navy, and it's a loss of 26 on the play.
Well, Army's just trying to throw a little quick screen to the wide receiver so that Richardson can get the ball up the field. But as you said, it's a lateral. The ball is thrown backwards. It's a poor reception here, and all of a sudden, the ball is loose, and Army is lucky that the sideline is there. It would have been Navy's ball deep in Army territory.
That was very close to being a forward pass, but ruled a lateral. Miami on third down and a million. Third and 35 officially. They're just trying to make it a better situation for the punter. Chino Marchetti and Gary Lane made the stop. Let's take one more look at this, because this was very close to being a forward pass, and it's obviously a huge call.
Well, there's no question the field position changed dramatically on this call. The question is it backward or is it forward? I think the flight of the ball took him backwards. I think the official made a good call. And you know, it's funny, all of a sudden he can't handle the ball. It gets hot, you know, and you can't get it picked up, and you're scrambling around there, and a bunch of black angry shirts are coming after you.
Timeout on the field. 2:43 left in the first half. Leaving the mids with 1 here in the first half. Army has all 3 of its timeouts left. Coming up on the college football today, AXA and Equitable halftime report. Tim Brando, Craig James, and Lou Holtz. We get a little misty-eyed as we read Lou's name. Take a look at the projected BCS lineup. Plus, it's Lou's last halftime. Who knows what he'll say? It's a good thing when you know you're leaving. You can say just about anything. That's all coming up at the half. How about all those T-shirts that Lou must have spread around the control room?
That's a good recruiting ploy by Lou. He gets national television exposure from South Carolina, and good for him.
He will be missed, but we're happy for Lou and his family, and happy for the good people in South Carolina. They're really a wonderful coach and a wonderful guy. The punt returned by Ryan Reed, 5 yards after the boot by Graham White. And the tackle was made by Will Henderson. Boy, White's had a great year punting for Army. 6th in the nation, averaging 45 yards per punt. Best in Conference USA.
Twice was named Special Teams Player of the Week in Conference USA. So
that was a big punt when they needed it. That lateral that was botched affected the field position. Time now for Navy. 2.5 minutes left. 1 timeout for the Mids. And that ball is loose on the field. It is picked up by Scott Kozak, and the play is being whistled down, but it is a recovery for Army. It'll be Army ball, but he was down on the ground, so Kozak could not advance the ball. Coaches are telling Kozak to keep going, but the officials have already whistled the play down, so that exercise doesn't mean very much. Broadwater stuck the ball in the belly of the fullback, Irv Dingle, and it came out. They try to take it back.
When it comes out, Ron Sporer, number 90, he's the guy that makes the big hit. But then number 70, Scott Kozak, he picks it up. The question is, was Kozak down when he scooped it up? He is. He's on the ground.
No question.
He's on the ground.
Down.
But what a turn of events. Navy calls timeout, thinking that they're going to have real good field position, thinking they're going to have a chance to maybe knock Army out of the game here right before the end of the first half. And Navy lays it on the ground. Now Army's inside the 50-yard line of Navy with a chance to go ahead in the game.
Problem with the chains on the far sideline. Fumble recovery by Scott Kozak, the junior from Orland Park, Illinois. They're having all kinds of difficulty over there. We are happy to report that the play clock is working today. That was the source of much controversy here Thursday night for the NFL game between the Eagles and the Rams. ESPN reported that they couldn't fix the play clock because the city of Philadelphia didn't have the money to fix it, and that it was a disgrace and an insult to Jeffrey Lurie. The mayor of Philadelphia, Ed Rendell, responded immediately. He's a big sports fan. He said that's not true. We have a $170 million surplus in Philadelphia. We weren't informed of it until the last moment. It took a while to fix, and it was propaganda by those hoping for a new stadium here. Richardson took the pitch and went inside the 35-yard line. Down at the 33, Rod Richardson, the senior from Portsmouth, Virginia.
This is the exact same play that Joe Jurina made the long touchdown run on earlier in the game, but this time he just pitched the ball outside to his fast slot back wide receiver, Rod Richardson. Richardson has good speed. You can tell he really jumps off the playing field when you watch him play with that electric speed that he has.
Miami powers up the middle. He's at the 26-yard line, about 3 yards short of a first down. David Reinold made the tackle for Navy. They're down to 1:43 and the clock running, remaining in the first half. Army on the move, looking for a go-ahead touchdown. Joe Jurina with the pitch, and it is fumbled out of bounds. John Johnson lost the handle, and there's a loss on the play. Back near the 28-yard line.
Well, John Johnson just really simply didn't catch the pitch here. It's a good pitch by Joe Jurina. It's the exact same play they just ran. They come back with it again. He pitches the ball out there, and sometimes those guys, those halfbacks, just take their eyes off the ball just to look downfield for a split second. I think that's what happened to John Johnson and why the ball fell to the ground.
Third down and 5. Jurina keeps, and he is very close to a first down. He was tackled by Adam Creshon, the senior from Northridge, California, whose brother Gabe plays on the undefeated UCLA team.
This is really close, Sean, for the first down. And, of course, Bob Sutton's got to be faced with the decision. Do I go ahead and kick the field goal? Do I go for the first down? I think Bob will go for it here. You're a running offensive team, picking up a half yard in 2 inches, you know. I mean, you got to believe in your offense, and I think he's looking for 7 points and not 3 at this time of the game.
3 links of the chain for a first down for Army. If they hadn't untangled that chain, he would have had a first down.
I think this will be a quarterback sneak. I'll be very surprised if Army just doesn't take the ball with Joe Jurina. He's obviously a good runner. Just sneak the ball for your first down and get your next series set up.
50% on 4th down this year for Army, 13 of 26. They bring Reno Ferree, a physical blocker, into the offensive backfield. Down marker shows 3rd down on the far sideline, but it is 4th down, and now it has been flipped over, and Army wants a timeout to discuss this key play with 1:14 left in the half. Coming up next here on CBS Sports, the road to the Final Four begins with the season premiere of NCAA basketball. In one matchup, the nation's top-ranked team, the UConn Huskies, host Mateen Cleaves and the Spartans of Michigan State. And in some areas, it'll be the Miami Hurricanes taking on Tubby Smith's defending national champion Kentucky Wildcats. Check your local listings for the game in your area. That's NCAA basketball returning to CBS next. And UConn, #1 in men's and women's basketball. An incredible feat under Gino Auriemma, the ladies coach, and Jim Calhoun, the coach of the gentlemen.
Impressive, huh? That is impressive. UConn. I'm going to get one of their baseball caps. Start wearing that thing around a little bit.
Lou Perkins, the athletic director there, has done a terrific job. You can see Sutton wanted a timeout, did everything he could to get his team's attention.
But I said it before, I'll be very surprised if this is not a quarterback sneak. They're huddling over there like it's not going to be a quarterback sneak. They're sure having a long discussion. But Michael Guzman, number 52, the center for Army, is their best offensive lineman. They've got less than 6 inches to go. The safest play you can run, really, is a quarterback sneak. Doesn't mean they'll do it. That's why I'm up here, Sean, not down on the sideline.
Guzman ready to snap it to Jarina. 4th and inches. Handoff straight ahead, and it looks like he was stopped short. Ryan Hamilton made the hit on Ty Amy. Certainly the hit was well behind the line of scrimmage, but the ball was spotted close enough to where they'll require a measurement.
Ryan Hamilton, he's the linebacker. He just walks up into the line of scrimmage, and the left guard, I think it was Nate Allard, number 78, just missed the block. He just had penetration and got into the backfield to nail the fullback.
And they stopped him short on a great play by Hamilton. Out of Episcopal Academy in Marion, Pennsylvania, just down the road from the vet. He stopped Ty Amy right at the line of scrimmage, and Navy takes over with 1:08 left in the half.
Boy, this is a huge defensive stop for Navy. It looked like a sure scoring opportunity for Army, either with a field goal or a touchdown.
And Army has a very good field goal kicker. Olson 12 out of 16. They didn't want to try about a 40-yard attempt. Here's Brian Broadwater. Navy has just one timeout. Here's another Philadelphia native. Here's Mike Mayock.
Sean, as you mentioned, Ryan Hamilton's from Episcopal Academy right down the road. And last year when he was a senior in high school, the Philadelphia Inquirer said in his all-area bio, will never play Division I football. He was very surprised to have that same writer come back and interview him this week. And, you know, the one consistent thread I've seen with all these kids in all of our interviews is that really was a deciding factor to go to one of the academies. These guys have what I would call a healthy chip on their shoulders. They want to play Division I ball.
That's right. We heard that over and over again yesterday. So many players said, I came to the academy because I wanted to play Division 1A football, and this was my only Division 1A opportunity. And we said, well, what about everything else that comes with academy life? The rigorous schedule and the 5-year commitment after you're finished. And every one of them said the same thing, that it was worth it to go through all of that, and now they're glad that they are going through it anyway for the opportunity to play Division 1A football. It was that important that they take up 5 years of their life that perhaps they didn't want to.
There's no question. You and Mike are right on that. I mean, I heard it time and time again. That and the education. They talked about education and what it would do for them after graduation, after their military commitment.
Matt Harden carried on the last play of the half to run out the clock for Navy. A wild first half. Typical Army-Navy game. 24-19 at the break. Here's Mike.
Hey, Coach.
Let's take a look at the Sun America halftime statistics. Rushing yardage dramatically in favor of Army. But Navy hit a couple of big pass plays, both to Ryan Reed, both for touchdowns. A 69-yard touchdown pass to Reed, the longest pass play in the history of the Army-Navy game. And Reed, with 2 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, has already set an Army-Navy record for receiving yardage in one game, breaking the record of